Hey Star Warriors, Geek here, and welcome to the 10,000 subscribers and 1 million channel views Q&A special. Due to popular request, I threw together another question and answers video for you. Let me tell you, I keep underestimating the amount of questions I would get for these Q&As, leaving me with over 500 comments to go through. What that means is that I had to edit almost every question to be a bit more broad in order to fit them all in. This also means that not every question ended up in the video, so if you feel like you were left out, please rewrite your question in the comments section, and I'll reply with the best answer I can give. I want to thank you all again for your great questions, so without further ado, let's hop right into it. How old are you? I am 15 years old, so you may be a little bit surprised about that number, but yeah, 15 and a half, basically. I think I turned 15 and a half a few days ago, but yeah, 15 and a half. Where do you live? I live in the beautiful city of Seattle, Washington, in the United States of America. And by Washington, I mean Washington State, not DC. I think it's one of the greatest places on Earth, and if you ever get the chance, it is definitely worth the visit. Would you consider doing a Star Warrior meetup in the Seattle area? I would definitely like to meet up with Star Warriors in my area, but I don't know how big my greater Seattle audience is, so I'd love to hear from all the Pacific Northwest viewers. Do you have any pets? Yes, I have a cat named Freya who is about 2 years old. What are your most anticipated movies of the next few years? I'm not excited for too much more than the new Star Wars movies. Episode 7, 8, 9, Rogue One, the Han Solo movie, and the other spin-off films. I'm also excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But other than that, there aren't very many movies that I'm super interested in, even the Deadpool or Suicide Squad films. I've never really been a huge superhero fan, so there aren't very many movies that are intriguing to me lately. What are your favorite and least favorite things about the original trilogy? I love almost everything about the original trilogy. The characters, settings, stories, and mythology are so perfect and groundbreaking that it's hard to find anything at all that is bad. Even after nearly 40 years, the effects look seamless, the characters are always new and fresh, and the story never gets old. Of course, there are a few occurrences of bad green screen work or strange line deliveries and pointless or even disturbing scenes. It's really hard to find much wrong with the best trilogy of all time, so let's move on to that next question. What are your favorite and least favorite things about the prequel trilogy? In the past, I have defended the prequels, which has resulted in some of the most hated videos on my channel. I try to look at the positive things, pointing out their beautiful locations, occasional great acting, and amazing props. Of course, there's lots to criticize, from the terrible dialogue to the boring and seemingly never-ending plot. There are certain plot points that I wish were never included in the franchise, ruining things like the Force with midichlorians, or the idea of the Jedi Order by making a set of ridiculous codes and laws. But overall, I don't think that the trilogy deserves all the unnecessary hate. What are some of the worst movies you've seen? Some of the worst movies I've ever seen have to be Caravan of Courage and The Battle for Endor. Not only are the Ewoks extremely creepy with pupils, but the plots were so childish and crazy that it made me cringe just watching. I barely made it through the movies. It took me months to get through them both, because I couldn't watch more than 5 minutes at a time before wanting to throw my computer across the room. Well, maybe not that extreme, but it was pretty much torture. If you were a Jedi, what lightsaber color would you choose? I would probably choose a green lightsaber with a traditional type hilt. What are your favorite cartoon shows? Definitely Star Wars Droids and the Clone Wars. Otherwise, I don't watch any cartoons other than Rebels and Ewoks. What's your favorite video game and console? My favorite video game would have to be either Battlefront 2 or Knights of the Old Republic. If Star Wars games aren't included, it would probably have to be Minecraft. Even if I haven't played it in a long time, I've never been much of a gamer, so Minecraft would have to be the best option. The best console is definitely PC. Who is your favorite YouTuber? Some of my favorite YouTubers ever since a couple years ago have been the Nostalgia Critic and Rhett and Link, and I pretty much like all the other Star Wars YouTubers as well. Who are some of your favorite Star Wars characters? My all-time favorite Star Wars character is C-3PO, but some of my other favorites include Vader, Yoda, Han Solo, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. What are some of your favorite movies and film franchises of all time? In order from best to worst: The Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fellowship of the Ring, Revenge of the Sith, Jurassic Park, American Graffiti, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Temple of Doom, Back to the Future, Alien, Jaws, Sorcerer's Stone, Back to the Future 2, E.T., and so on and so on. What are your opinions on the prequels? Like I've said in the past, I understand that the prequels have some major flaws, but they don't deserve the extreme level of hate that they receive. Their biggest problem is how they changed the original films. On their own, they would simply be known as subpar movies, not one of the worst creations known to man. I personally enjoy watching the prequels. That is, except for most of Attack of the Clones, but even then I find enjoyment in simply watching a Star Wars movie. How do you feel that there are only 28 scenes in TFA that will have CGI sequences? I didn't even know that this was true, but if it does turn out to be completely valid, I would be thrilled. I'm sure you've all heard enough of the hype around how practical props are so much better than CGI, and I'm not anti-CGI, but there's no denying that props always look more realistic on screen. Who's your favorite female Star Wars character? Definitely Princess Leia Organa. She's one of the strongest female leads in cinematic history, and she rocks that bagel bun hairdo. Do you think that Episode 7 will be better than the originals? Definitely not. I think that the settings, characters, and props are all going to be amazing, but I have this strange feeling that the plot will somehow only be subpar. I know it will be better than the prequels, but I don't think it can surpass any of the best 3 films of all time. Who is your favorite Sith Lord? I'm planning on making my next top 10 video on this, but since so many people asked, I'll give you my pick for first place. It probably won't come as a surprise, but Darth Vader is by far the best. Which is better, the CGI Yoda or the puppet Yoda? Definitely the puppet from the original trilogy. CG Yoda is unnatural and out of place, but the Episode 1 puppet is by far the worst of the bunch. Now, having said that, CG Yoda will hold up without decay in the long run. I've personally seen actual screen-used Yoda puppets in person, and they are literally falling apart. Are you a fan of DC Comics, or do you read comics in general? I'm a much bigger Marvel fan, and by that I mean I like the Star Wars comic books. I've never enjoyed reading comic books that much. They're almost tiring, leading me to eventually just look at the pictures. But with Star Wars comics, I love reading them, especially the vintage books. Do you like anime? No. Well, I guess that I went through a Pokemon phase in 3rd grade, but that doesn't really count. What Star Wars movies have you seen in theaters? I've only seen 2 Star Wars films in theaters. The first one I saw was The Phantom Menace in 3D for my birthday, and the second was Return of the Jedi at Celebration Anaheim. I've always wanted to see Empire in theaters, so I can only hope that they will show some classic films at my local theater sometime soon. Have you ever eaten a Nutella donut? No, and I'm not sure I want to, but if you've ever been to Portland, Oregon, there is an awesome donut shop called Voodoo Donuts that you should definitely stop by. Dark side or light side? Simply for the morality of it, I'll have to side with the light side of the Force. What new Episode 7 character are you looking forward to the most? I'm excited about BB-8 and his origins. The droids of Star Wars have always been great and have fascinated me, so getting a new one is pretty exciting. What 2 characters would you like to see have a duel? Who doesn't want to see Yoda battle Darth Vader? Even if Yoda's lightsaber battles on screen are a bit far-fetched and out of place, I couldn't say no to him battling the Dark Lord of the Sith. Where do you get your comic books? I get my new Marvel Star Wars comics from their mailing service. I've been somewhat disappointed with their delivery of these comics, not only being very delayed, but also being in poor condition. Marvel has definitely let me down with their bad packaging and service, but I get my vintage comics from a comic book collector who's a friend of my grandma. I've gotten almost all of my comics exclusively from him, so I'm super thankful for that. What do you think of Disney Infinity and their inclusion of Star Wars characters? I don't really have much of an opinion on this. A lot of people like Disney Infinity, but I'm personally not a big fan. I guess that their inclusion of Star Wars characters is kind of cool, but it doesn't really impact me in any way. What is your favorite scene in the whole saga? Definitely one of the most iconic scenes of all time, in The Empire Strikes Back, when Vader reveals he is Luke's father. Will you ever do a face reveal? I've been asked this so much that I just have to end all of the questioning. Just wait a few months. What is your favorite vehicle in Star Wars? Definitely the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, the Millennium Falcon. What are your thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront? I love Battlefront, one of the best series of video games ever made, and I can't wait for Battlefront EA. Will you be going to Force Friday? I've never gone before, but when I learned about it, I knew that I was all in. I hope that I'll be able to go to a Midnight Madness location near me. Who's your favorite Battlefront 2 character? Darth Vader would have to be the best of the bunch. Did the Clone Wars change your opinions about Anakin Skywalker? I've never really thought about it, but in a way, it did. When I watch the movies, I still see Anakin as the whiny, creepy, and annoying weirdo that he is, but in the cartoon, he feels like a completely different character. He's nicer, more compassionate, and most importantly, more likable. Plus, his gradual turn to the dark side seems more seamless here. Will The Force Awakens be rated PG or PG-13? I hope that it'll be rated PG, so that fans of all ages can enjoy the saga, but I'm guessing that it'll end up with a PG-13 rating, knowing today's standards. What are your thoughts on Star Wars Rebels? It's not terrible, but it's definitely not great. It's such a shame that this is what replaced the Clone Wars, but in the past, I've made it seem like Rebels is a bad show, which it isn't. In comparison to the Clone Wars, Rebels doesn't hold up, but the series has its charm, and I am genuinely excited for Season 2. What is your favorite Star Wars book? Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire is an amazing book and an incredible series, which I would almost consider canon, if it wasn't for the new films canceling out their validity. Who is your favorite bounty hunter? While I've said that Boba Fett is a better character, I don't think he's my favorite bounty hunter. I've always been very fond of IG-88, the cappuccino maker assassin droid who's seen in the background of this scene in Episode 5. What was your first Star Wars film, and how old were you when you saw it? My dad knew what he was doing when he decided to finally show me the Star Wars movies. I watched them in release order, probably around May of 2005, as that was when my dad got back into the saga after seeing Revenge of the Sith at the Cinerama in Seattle. When I got home from kindergarten, I sat down and began watching the films that I never imagined would be so amazing. I first saw A New Hope, then The Empire Strikes Back, followed by Return of the Jedi. I have to say that Episode 6 is definitely the movie I remember seeing the most at the age of 5. I specifically remember Jabba the Hutt, and how much I didn't want to eat mac and cheese after that, as I somehow saw his slimy face in the noodles. I later watched the prequels, but I surprisingly don't remember that experience very well. What do you use to edit your videos? I use the amazing program Final Cut Pro 10. While some critics say that it's just a beefed up version of iMovie, well, I pretty much agree. If you've ever used iMovie before, it will be extremely easy to learn, and that makes it simple, clean, and fun to mess around with. Who is the best Star Wars actor? I'd definitely say Harrison Ford, my favorite actor of all time, but some runner-ups include Ewan McGregor for his incredible performance as Obi-Wan in the prequels, and Anthony Daniels for his ability to convey so much emotion from a character like C-3PO. Do you want the Clone Wars to return? Absolutely. They should do whatever they can to bring back the series. It's been announced that they had episodes all the way through the unproduced Season 8 that were written, but never finished. It was going in a great direction, and from what we've seen in the rough cut Clone Wars Legacy episodes, there were some incredible episodes in the works. If you were a clone trooper, what would your name and CT number be? I'm not exactly sure. It seems like a lot of clones have names based on birds and other types of animals, so something like Falcon might be fitting, especially considering how much I love the iconic vehicle. CT number is a little less fun, but it would probably be something like 1717, seeing as 17 is my favorite number, or maybe 1138, a nod to George Lucas's first movie. Who's the weirdest looking Star Wars character? It's a tie between the Swokes, Zuttons, and Ugnaughts. Do you own any lightsabers? I own a couple cheap lightsabers, a clear one that changes colors, a couple red ones, and a blue one, but nothing special. Are you into the expanded universe, or do you just stick to the films and TV shows? I mostly just stick to the movies, but there is some EU content that I love, such as the 80s cartoon show Droids, the vintage Marvel comics, and some of the books and video games. In fact, I even consider the comics and cartoons part of my own personal canon. Can you show us your collection, and what do you collect? I would love to do a collection tour video soon. As for what I collect, it's a wide range of things, but I try to focus on C-3PO related items. Have you ever watched Lord of the Rings? Definitely. It's a great series that I've noticed is sometimes compared against Star Wars, starting a new feud like the Star Trek vs. Star Wars, which doesn't make a lot of sense. They aren't even in the same genre, so it's a great trilogy of books and films, but it shouldn't be compared to this saga. Who is your least favorite Star Wars character? I recently uploaded my top 10 worst Star Wars characters video, so you can go check that out for my whole list. But my least favorite character of all time is Baby Boba Fett from Episode 2. Do you think Disney will screw up Star Wars? Absolutely not. If anything, they're saving Star Wars. After the backlash the prequels got, George Lucas swore that there would never be another Star Wars film ever again. When Disney purchased Lucasfilm, there was hope that the saga would be completed with its original intended 9 movies. I think they've made great choices about directors, writers, and cast, but have made a few minor mistakes here and there, such as replacing the Clone Wars. But I have trust that Star Wars is in the right hands. Cats or dogs? I'm more of a cat fan. It doesn't mean I don't love dogs, I mean, how can't you? But I've grown up with cats my whole life, and they are certainly fun to have. Do you like that Boba Fett and Darth Maul survived? Yes and no. I've always thought that they both died in ways that were not only ridiculous, but unfitting with the rest of the saga. Boba Fett definitely should have escaped the Sarlacc, so that's a plus. And I understand why people would want Darth Maul to survive. He died in a ridiculous way and had so much more potential. But the way that he was brought back was too strange and unfitting. From a giant spider body to big robotic chicken legs, that's not Darth Maul. Who do you like better, C-3PO or Gary? Well, I definitely say that... Hang on a second. Gary? Hello? Are you there? Hello? Okay, as much as I love Gary the Gonk Droid, 3PO has always been my favorite, so I might have to say that I like him... Gary, hey, well, what are we doing? Or am I doing? Oh, nothing, yeah, nothing. Alright, let's move on. Do you like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Well, not really. It was cool to see Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones again, but the story wasn't the strongest, and the characters fell flat. Should I really rate this movie? Do it! Okay, jeez, I mean, I'd probably give it about 3 parsecs out of 12, but that's just my opinion. Do you think that Anakin Skywalker is annoying? Yes, but while he's annoying in episode 1, he's really creepy in episodes 2 and 3. I don't even want to talk about it. What is your favorite pro sports team? I'm not a huge sports fan, but I'd have to say that any team from Seattle would be my favorite. The Seahawks, Sounders, and even the Mariners. Would you rather fight a Wookiee or a Trandoshan? That's a tough decision, but after seeing how the Wookiees were able to take down the Trandoshan base in that Clone Wars episode, I'd have to say a Trandoshan would give me slightly better odds. Why do you like Seattle so much? I just think that Seattle has the best people, sights, skyline, weather, and culture. We may be one of the strangest places on the planet, but I also think we're one of the best. Do you have any siblings? Yes, I have a younger sister who actually did the voice of Princess Leia in my 4th Versus episode. What places have you visited? I haven't visited a lot of places, but I'll give you the list. In the United States, I've been to the states of Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii. For countries out of the US, I've been to Canada, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, England, Switzerland, Germany, Holland, and Iceland. What if episode 7 sucks? Shh! No! What's your favorite animal? My favorite animal has always been the giraffe. Giraffes are clearly some of the coolest animals on the face of the planet. What's your favorite color? Blue is my favorite, but green is a close second. Who would your companion be? R2 or Chewie? I think R2 would be my pick, considering he doesn't need to eat or sleep. Plus, he seems like he'd be enjoyable to hang around with. If you were a Sith Lord, what would your name be? Darth Geek. What's the best alien language from Star Wars? Huttese is probably my favorite, considering it's a language that's mostly laid out online, and always sounds good when coming from the mouths of Hutt crime lords. Would you rather be a Jedi or a Sith? I would say Jedi due to their moral values, but Sith Lords can do cooler stuff, so I'd side with my good pals Little Annie and Papa Palpatine. What spin-off movies would you like to see? Obi-Wan Kenobi, droids, or maybe a Yoda spin-off? Will there be a behind-the-scenes video? Yes, hopefully very soon. It'll be a little while before I get time to make it, but it should be coming up very shortly. Is Star Wars set in the past or the future? I've gotten this question before from people confused about this topic. To clear things up, Star Wars is definitely in the past. Sometimes people tell me, but if Star Wars is in the past, how come their technology is better than ours? And to that I say, seriously? I mean, I don't want to offend anyone, but if you read the iconic opening to each film where it says, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away," you should know that the saga takes place who knows how long ago in the past, in a distant galaxy far away from Earth, meaning that their development could be at a completely different rate than ours. Okay, now that I've finally gotten that out of the way, On to the next question. If you could change anything from the Star Wars universe, what would it be? I wouldn't change much, but there are a few things here and there. Midichlorians would be gone. Anakin building C-3PO would never have happened. R2-D2 with jetpacks would have been scrapped. Anakin's turn to the dark side would be more gradual. All Jedi wouldn't wear the exact same outfit. There would be a lot less walking and talking. Continuity errors would be fixed. The Death Star 2 would be replaced with something more original, and Han Solo would die halfway through Return of the Jedi. Which EU character should be canonized? I'd love to see someone like Mungo Baobab from Droids being canonized, or Jackson from the Marvel series, although he was already kind of made canon in this Clone Wars episode, featuring his iconic suit and vehicle. I'm not exactly sure though, so I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments below. What's your favorite droid? My favorite droid character is C-3PO, but my favorite type of droids are the astromechs. What I was saying, power droids are right up there at the top, yeah, power droids. Clone Trooper or Stormtrooper? It depends. If we're comparing the movie clones with the movie Stormtroopers, then I'd definitely say Stormtroopers. But if we're comparing the cartoon clones with the cartoon Stormtroopers, the Clone Troopers definitely win. Should Disney release the theatrical versions on Blu-ray? Absolutely, please Disney, please. It is important to have the theatrical version in HD, so please Disney, make it happen. What's your favorite Star Wars setting? I really like the setting on Dagobah in the swamps of Yoda's home. Why is your mascot a gonk droid? A little over a year ago, I started a poll to see which character my viewers would want as a mascot, and through their suggestions, the most popular choice was a gonk droid. What's your weapon of choice? In the Star Wars universe, how could I choose anything other than a lightsaber? What's your favorite movie quote? A wise Jedi Master once said on the swamps of Dagobah.
Do or do not. There is no try.
That wraps up part 1 of this very special Q&A. I hope you enjoyed, and stick around for part 2 to hear the rest of my answers. Subscribe to StarGeek for weekly Star Wars content. If you like the channel, please tell a friend. If you enjoyed the video, please shoot that like button at light speed. You can go check out my Facebook page linked in the description. Also check out my Twitter account at StarGeekYT, and find me on Instagram by the same handle. Click on the link to the left for my last video, a review of the C-3PO Black Series figure, as well as a mystery unboxing. You can also click on the right to watch my last Q&A. Don't forget to like the video, and comment on your own video suggestions below the episode. Until we meet again in a galaxy far, far away, this has been StarGeek. The question nobody asked. What do you eat for breakfast? Why, Star Wars cereal, of course. Yum.